Okay, it is 10 o'clock. We're going to call this meeting to order. Certified. We do have a quorum, 4 members present, 1 absent, the 1 absent being Commissioner Snuggs. Item number 2 is opening prayer. I believe it is Commissioner Leon Clement's turn for that. Following that, Ricky, you mind leading us in a prayer? Would everybody please rise? I got that backwards.
You got that
That's
backwards.
fine. I was just trying to make sure everybody's on their toes.
Shall we pray? Our Father, we're thankful today that we have the privilege to be able to be here at this meeting and to be a part of the business of the county. I pray today, Lord, that as we work our way out of this year and into a new year, that you would help us, Father, to give us wisdom, that we might take on the challenges that are ahead using your wisdom and your guidance. I pray for the commissioners and the county judge today as they conduct this meeting, and just pray, Lord, that your guidance will prevail. And help all of us, Father, that we'll be found doing those things that are pleasing with you. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
And I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee in Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, gentlemen.
That's an auditor's spot.
Item 5 is recognition of retiring employees. We have a few employees here that will soon be departing us. I know at least one of them wanted to say a few words. So, Finn, I'm going to let you have the floor.
Unusual. Gentlemen of the court, to my friends of Cooke County, I'm surprised that I'm able to write this. I never really thought I would live this long to survive, due to my unbridled and extremely flamboyant lifestyle to have made it to retirement. In my lifetime, I've worked in 2 careers. 12 years in Marine Corps aviation, just recently completed 38 years of law enforcement, both all over the world and usually in hostile environments. I should have perished many times, and I can say in truth that God has been my co-pilot. However, I not only survived, but remarkably thrived on the adrenaline rush of these terrifying, yet exhilarating events. Always as an afterthought, I thought the investment into each adventure was well worth the risk, but that's easy for a survivor to say. Initially, in law enforcement, I applied for the police comedian position, but there were no openings, so I took the SWAT job. Later, in more seriousness, my involvement in establishing and instructing in multiple worldwide police academies proved to be more dynamic and exciting than anything I could have ever have imagined. And I want to note that divine intervention has brought me to this moment. My existence thus far, in spite of myself, is a tremendous incentive for me to continue to explore the world further, as I've informed so many that is what my intentions are. When I joined Cooke County, I could not understand the mechanics of how the county government worked. All of my initial projects that I introduced into the county system for processing seemed to have fallen into an abyss. However, over a period of time, as I corrected my clerical and procedural errors in project submissions, I began to note a faint murmur of continued forward motion in my projects. Later, I observed a more steady heartbeat, a rhythm of synchronized and coordinated movement in the machinery of government. Not long after, I experienced an epiphany where I realized that my projects, paperwork, and all my efforts to interact with this wonderful machine revealed itself to be a living, steady workshop of diligent effort, It is guided and directed by the tireless contributions of all who serve in the Cooke County government. Some processes were completed with ease, some more slowly. But in all cases, the result was inexorable, consistent, and satisfactory. It is fortunate that this system is attended by so many people who care to make it work. It represents the center of assistance and help to the county community, as it is quietly watching over and enhances the lives of its citizens only because of all the hard work of the Cooke County employees. In further reflection, my tenure with the Cooke County Sheriff's Office has been some of the most satisfying of my career. I was very fortunate to have been a member of an administration that was guided by a man of character and vision. His dedication in developing a premier law enforcement agency has benefited the Cooke County citizenry vastly more than they ever expected. The many accolades generated by the outstanding achievements of the Sheriff's Office reflected in the newspaper of the county attest to this agency's exemplary quality of law enforcement service. The excellent reputation of the Cooke County Sheriff's Office stands as a commendable testament to Sheriff Gilbert's steadfast leadership and continual concern for the welfare of the citizens of the county. It has been a great pleasure and my privilege to have been a part of this professional growth of this agency. As of this 31st, I officially end my law enforcement career with great appreciation and satisfaction. My new home awaits for me near the shores of Normandy, France, only 5 miles from the June 6 D-Day invasion beach. My new quest is to go and discover more of the world. With apologies to paraphrase a quote from Herman Melville, the author of Moby Dick, as for me, I love to sail on forbidden seas and land on barbarous coasts. Now it is time. And here in Texas, I have to pardon myself when I say, pardon my French, where here it means something entirely different. Aujourd'hui, mes amis, today, my friends, je donne mon dernier appel à la police officielle. Today, I give my last official police order. 1042, 1042. And for those in the police code, 1042 means end of duty. Encore, 1042, again, 1042. So, as I go across the world in search of adventures, I shall remember you for all your kindness and friendship. Au revoir, goodbye, bonne chance, good fortune, and Dieu vous bénisse. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Finn. I'm not sure if anybody else, Sheriff Gilbert, if you want to say a few words, or John Clement after that.
Well, I told you I wanted to speak afterwards.
We'll take yours up at the end then.
You can finish it.
There we go.
Good morning. That's the most I heard him say in 8 years. But mine's going to be short and sweet. It was an honor and it was a pleasure. And if you ever need me, holler, I'll come running. Thank you.
Thank you. I think that's the ones that I had noted. I didn't know if we had anybody else. Item number 6 would be public comments on agenda items. I don't believe we had anybody sign up. Item number 7 is the consent agenda. Does anybody have any items they wish to pull?
I'll make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement to approve the consent.
Second.
Second by Commissioner John Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 4-0. Let me take just 1 second to pick up the supplemental agenda, which is to deliberate and consider possible approval or action regarding payment to Emergency Management Coordinator for earned vacation time that will not carry forward for salaries, line item 001-407-102. This is because obviously he's been committed to the pandemic response. There's about, I think it's in the request, a little over 2 days worth of vacation time that he's not going to be able to use up. And this would pay that out, similar to what we did with EMS. We have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell.
Second.
Second by Commissioner John Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 4-0. Item number 8 is deliberate, consider possible approval of treasurer's monthly report. Any questions or comments on this?
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner John Clement. Second by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 4-0. Item number 9 is deliberate and consider possible approval of Kiowa RV Park on FM 902 in Precinct 2. We do have the Johnsons here. If you want to give just a brief summary of what the proposal is. I think there's some new material on this.
Todd reviewed the septic design originally, I'm sure you guys know that, and wanted us to back off of the drip and do the sprinkler heads, and we added that. That's at the back. I think it's next to the last page if you want to see it. So the sprinkler heads are up there by FM 902. We're not going to develop anything along FM 902. We pushed it back, so that's all just green space. So you really don't see the RV park at all, except for where we had to widen the road a little bit. But they're all tucked in trees and to the back. The second page is a more cute little depiction of what it'll look like. And if you don't know where this is, I'm sure most of you know where the duplexes are on 902. It's directly across from it. No neighbors on either side, no houses, no nothing. And for the most part, you won't see them at all. What else? We are going to primarily be marketing towards, grandparents and 55 older of the families that live in Kiowa. And I did strike the lake name. So it did change it a little bit.
Any questions on this? It meets our requirements, and I know Todd and you guys
And I spent about 2 hours out there going
Have-
over what he wants and gave him exactly what makes him happy.
have gone over the septic to make sure that is to everybody's approval.
Commissioner Snuggs happy?
Commissioner, sorry, yes, I talked with Commissioner Snuggs yesterday evening. He is good with it.
We've met all the spacing requirements.
Yes, yeah. Any questions, comments?
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Leon Clement. I'll second that motion. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 4-0. Item number 10 is deliberate and consider possible approval of single tree RV expansion on County Road 147. Commissioner Hollowell, you want to talk to this one?
I think that he's met all the requests that we made. This is only going to apply to the expansion. I'll make the motion to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell to approve.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner John Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 4-0. Item number 11 is deliberate consider possible approval of Good Life subdivision final plat in Precinct 1. Commissioner Hollowell.
Move to approve.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell to approve. I'll second that motion. Nothing's changed since just informing everybody, nothing's changed since the preliminary, so it was good. Last quarter.
Reviewed by a third-party engineer.
We had all that. Everything's been paid. Any further discussion on that? If Not all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 4-0. Item number 12 is open public hearing regarding possibly establishing a PACE program in Cooke County. It is 10:16 and that public hearing is open. Do we have anybody that signed up for that public hearing? Do we have anybody that wishes to speak at that public hearing that did not get a chance to sign up? Seeing none, that public hearing is closed at 10:16. Item number 14 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding establishment of a PACE program in Cooke County. I know we have the representatives from that program here. You guys want to give just a real short brief?
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. Lee McCormick with Lone Star PACE. We're a program administrator for Property Assessed Clean Energy Programs. Brief reminder, Property Assessed Clean Energy is a way for commercial, industrial, and large multifamily property owners to upgrade their facilities with energy and water efficiency improvements that are financed with a long-term loan that's secured by a property tax assessment on the property. This allows those property owners to essentially align those utility bill savings with those improvements with the cost of the financing compared to a normal bank loan, which is much shorter term. So on a bank loan, they typically come out of pocket on a cash flow. So it's a great economic development tool for these property owners to upgrade their facilities with any type of improvement that's going to improve energy or water consumption, HVAC systems, LED lighting, insulation, cool roofs, solar, really anything that helps save water or electricity qualifies for PACE financing. This agenda item today is a resolution of intent. So it essentially is the first of two resolutions that have to be approved by the county with regards to a PACE program. The resolution establishing the program would be approved at a later date. We did have a work group session on it. I think we answered most questions, but I'm happy to answer any additional questions that may have come up today.
And I know we have Doug Smithson sitting in the back. Sorry to call you out, Doug, but from the appraisal district. Have you you've talked to some other counties that have done or are starting at least the process of this?
Doug, can we get you up here, please?
I have reached out to numerous appraisal districts and talked to Michelle French from Denton Appraisal District, or not Denton County Assessor Collector. One thing I found out at the point that no one ever involves the appraisal district and the tax assessor collector until after we know about it later. And so, being that I am the chief appraiser and assessor collector, that will it involve my office? Yes, it will, in a couple different ways. One, as far as reporting and assessment values that. When you use the word tax assessment, yeah, that kind of throws up a red flag for me, part of it, knowing what is or what isn't on the thing. I don't know whether or not, they've got all the bugs out of this, Michelle and their group down there in Denton County, you worked with them. I know initially when they came out with that, they worked hard with about 5 or 6, 7 of them to figure out the pros and cons about it. I know there's another group, PACE program, and it's not as good as the program that I believe that y'all put together. But I can't really say whether or not that Cooke County is ready for this or not. I don't know. First of all, even I've talked to Collin County, chief appraiser down there, he had no clue about it. I've talked to other Brazos County, they had no clue about it. Denton didn't have a clue about it. As you guys know, the years I've been around here, part of it, or the last ones always know, would be and how it affects us, or I'll call it unfunded mandates. But if we're having to put the valuation to it, to put a value in it, and to also whether it be assessment to it, then I'd like to know a little bit more about it, how it's going to involve my office. So, any questions?
Do you have any idea at this point how labor intensive it's going to be? And when we use this word assessment, we call it a lien.
Well, it's kind of like what I see a lot of times on abatements and stuff with that. Well, there is reporting, state reporting, and additional values part of it. And is that value going to be there, at the time period later on? I've read through some of this stuff, to figure out that it can be passed on from one owner to the next owner. And where's the liability fall, of the loan that goes with it? in the future. There's, I guess, my part of it, I don't have all the answers for it.
So we could be looking at, we would be involved in the loan. We have to be,
Yeah.
otherwise.
Y'all are going to be involved, my office is going to be involved. Now, the
Yeah.
question is, to what extent, how much or not?
And if there's a default, we become responsible for it, basically.
Unfortunately, as I usually look at this, is I don't like to be the first guinea pig. Don't quote that. But I'm still not, until, like I said, since I have no clue about a lot of this, until somebody reached out to me and asked me about it, and I started calling around, and it's like knowing exactly what entails and what my office and you guys, y'all can approve it, but that's up to y'all.
But we can approve it, not really understanding the impact it has on you, your staff, labor, the fact that you have to track it through the life of the loan. And it's my understanding, I guess, as I do understand, Lee, you can weigh in at some point if you need to.
Am I going to be entitled to the information of what they put into the value on this property? And a lot of times on that, you can put it into a building and stuff, and as assessment part of it, when you use the word assessment, what is contributory value? It may cost you, $100,000, but the question is, kind of like a swimming pool, are you going to get your $100,000 back out of it? Depends on what building it's at. You put $100,000 in the old hospital up here, you'll never get your money back out of that thing.
Yeah, so one of the questions is
And if
how,
it comes a foreclosure and that type of deal, and we've seen that, and that's just one example we all know, is one building that's been around for a long time, so.
the foreclosure part's got me concerned.
Yeah, like I said, these gentlemen are the only ones who can answer all these questions, part of it, and since I have not had no conversation with them, or they haven't reached out to me, I really don't know. So I'm gonna leave it at that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I put it out on listserv back in November, and no one answered me.
No one answered you?
First, my apologies. The judge did mention I should talk to you beforehand, and I completely forgot, so my apologies for that. We did talk about the administration for the county tax assessor with regards to this program. As a program administrator, we handle virtually all the administration at no cost to the county. So we will basically work with the lenders and the property owners with all the administration. The county's involvement from the tax assessor side is very minimal. The program is set up to be a minimal program for the county administratively. There is a filing of a notice of contractual assessment when a transaction closes, which essentially has the schedule of the payments through maturity of the loan. So that document gets recorded. Then once a year, if the county's willing, you don't have to do it, once a year, we actually prepare a letter for the tax assessor collector to send to the property owner on their letterhead that basically just tells them for your upcoming year, almost as a reminder, for your upcoming year, property owner, this is the amount of assessment that is due for this year. There is no funds collected through the tax assessor collector's office. The statutes do allow for direct billing between the lender and the property owner. So the county is not involved in any cash flow with regards to these types of programs. So there's no administration or liability with regards to that. And then once the loan is paid off, 15, 20 years down the road, there is the release of the notice of contractual assessment. Other than that, there shouldn't be any administration from the county tax assessor collector. So again, we handle the administration for the county. That's our role. And again, I do apologize because I think it would have been helpful if I'd sat down with you and talked to you before this. So that is on me. The judge did mention that would be a good idea. But what I would propose is, since this is the first of two approvals, if we could get the resolution of intent taken care of today, I will definitely sit down and talk with the tax assessor collector, make sure he's comfortable, because from his perspective, this program should be very minimal administratively. And again, it's our job to handle that. What little part is involved, it's our job to handle.
How's it then tie back to the ad valorem tax?
I'm sorry?
How does it then tie back to the ad valorem?
It does not affect the ad valorem at all. The ad valorem stays the same. Our documents that we have in our program, I think one of the reasons Michelle French over at Denton County liked them is we make sure that even in the event of default, that the county ad valorem taxes get paid prior to any PACE taxes. So under the statutes, they have the same standing. Under our documents, we have the lender and the owner both contractually subordinate those payments to the county in the event of default. So we always make sure the county gets paid first in our documents. And in our documents, we also have additional indemnification. The statutes provide indemnification for the county and the elected officials personally. We have additional indemnification in our language for the county and the tax assessor collector above what's in the statutes. In the event of default, I know that was brought up as well. Yes, in the event of default, the property would go through the same process as a normal ad valorem tax default. Again, we manage that process, and in most cases, I'm not aware of any case in Texas or in the U.S. actually that has gone through this process, but in the event, we would actually just work with the county's collection attorneys directly to handle that. So again, it wouldn't be a burden on the tax assessor collector. We would essentially notify the county, notify the tax assessor collector that this has gone into default, and then we would work with the county's tax collection attorney. They would get paid directly from the sale of the property as they do with the ad valorem tax foreclosures.
I own a piece of property, I finance it through lender A, primary lender, $1 million. I now want to go make these upgrades. You don't actually serve as the lender. I would go secure my third party or second party, my second lien holder. Okay, so that's all on me to take care of.
That is, yes, the property owner selects the lender.
Things go well for a year or so, and all of a sudden I default on the loan, on both of them, because I can't meet my commitment to my first lien holder nor my second lien holder at this point. Okay, it goes into a default, and the property brings, economy's bad, it brings 50% of what my loan is. Okay, so I'm now in debt to a primary lien holder and a secondary lien holder. It's my understanding that the PACE program somehow tied to ad valorem or through the county's co-signing, those, I'm using those terms loosely, that the second lien holder is going to be secured their monies prior to the first lien holder. Is that
correct? So under the statutes, and that's the whole incentive for PACE, under the statutes, the PACE lien takes priority over the first lien mortgage, but only for past due amounts. So let's say that PACE lien is $500,000 or has $500,000 outstanding, but that property owner is only past due on $50,000. It's just that $50,000 past due payment that is in front of the first lien mortgage holder. Under the Texas statutes, even though that first lien mortgage holder had their lien in place first, and that PACE lien came on second, even though they have a priority on that payment, that first lien mortgage holder, under the statutes, has to consent to that PACE lien. So somebody can't come in and just put a PACE lien on a property without that first lien mortgage holder consenting to it. If that first lien mortgage holder says, no, I don't want to do it, then it doesn't happen. The reason the first lien mortgage holder is willing to do that is they're actually, that PACE lender now does not have a security interest in those improvements. So I put $500,000 of improvements on that building, that first lien mortgage holder now gets the value of those. That building has just now had $1 million of upgrades done. That first lien mortgage holder now actually has that as their collateral. So it's a bit of a collateral trade, but it's one of those things that the first lien mortgage holder definitely has, there is a form they have to sign, basically consenting to every PACE loan before it's done. So there's nobody is surprised. Everybody's
basically,
on.
the way the second lien mortgage holder gets secured is through leveraging the county.
Correct.
Which
Yes.
makes us a cosigner, a lien holder, or if you send them a letter, even though you're doing the work, it's coming out under a CAT or county letterhead. So if there's anything negative associated with it, then that's tied to the county.
I don't think anything, the county is not co-signing anything.
Well, you couldn't function at this capacity without the county's approval, which, and I said early on, I think it's probably a good program, but we don't need any more government involved in our business. So
The
my
county,
question
You
is-
need the county to be the enforcer. For
well,
lack of better terms, the county is the ability, the final ability to collect the money. Basically, we're not, even though I know we're not going to be directly collecting it, I'm sorry I stole your thunder there, but I'd have forgot my thought if I wouldn't have put it out
I'm
there.
good.
Anyway,
And my concern is if we get to that default and the building or the property brings 50 cents on the dollar, who's going to make that up if the county is assured these people, not insured, but assured these people, we're going to pay them back?
yeah, the next property owner would. So just like any ad valorem tax, in the event of default, if that $500,000 is still out there, the county gets paid first. The PACE lender gets their past due amount, but then the first lien mortgage holder gets their repayment of their loan. And then anything after that stays with the property, so the next property owner picks up those payments as if, just like an ad valorem tax, they have to pick up those payments going forward.
And see, that's where I was asking, how did it tie into that little tax? And that's how it comes in here. They're gonna have to go pay the tax, which makes it probably even less attractive to a purchaser.
Yes,
So.
yeah,
okay.
they're picking it up.
I personally, guys, think it's too soon.
I agree.
I let some other counties go work through this. And, you know, maybe we reconsider it sometime whenever it's, after it's matured.
Well, Doug brought up a very good point. So I'm going to make $500,000 worth of improvements. That doesn't mean he's going to say it's worth $500,000. Who's going to decide that it's actually adds $500,000 worth of value to a house? I mean, you know how many times over the years I've heard property owners and business people and homeowners say, they now have my house valued at $100,000. I only paid $75,000 to build it. The value, the actual value, just because someone goes out and spends $500,000 to improve a building doesn't necessarily, when he revalues that, he being the tax appraisal district, are you all going to tell the tax appraisal district what the value has to be?
Well, we will. We'll give him they'll know how much improvements were put on that property because they'll have that assessment. Now, what the market value is of those, yeah, you would still have to have, the county would have to take a look at it. The good news is the county is getting theoretically $500,000 of improvements on that property, so it is improving the tax base for the county.
But that's theoretically, I don't know. There's a lot of variables involved in how a piece of property gets appraised and what you actually pay or sell it for. They don't always match.
Depreciation on whatever.
Appreciation, I mean, there's too many, I agree with Commissioner Hollowell, there's too many variables here that, the fact that no one's even officially talked to the chief appraiser and not too many people have talked about this. If you put it out on listserv and no one even responded, I think you used the word guinea pig, didn't you? Yeah. Well, that was a good one.
I apologize, I didn't hear the comment over here.
We have a network across the state
Oh,
of all the counties,
okay.
and I put it out and no one answered me.
Well, there's currently 54 counties in the state that have PACE programs. It's not a new program. It's been around for a number of years. It's been around for about a little over 5 years with workable statutes. 2015 is when they finally got the statutes right. In the last 5 years, 54 counties have adopted PACE programs. I'm not aware of any issues with any of the counties of the programs to date. So.
What we've mentioned so far, though, seem to have had much larger populations than Cooke County. And that's about 20% of the counties in the state. So I can still personally consider it relatively new.
I'm not interested right now. I don't want to get in the bank. I feel like we're involving ourselves in the lending and the banking process, and I don't want to get that close to it.
Well, I think that, you know, there's some benefit to this type of program. But as we'll get to later in item 25, my involvement in it going forward is going to be extremely limited. So I will defer to the ones that are going to be in this position or on this court for the more than just a limited duration.
Would it be an appropriate motion to say we postpone this to some point in the future that we're not interested in?
I just think you take no action and say we'll continue to watch and evaluate going forward.
I'd make the motion, we take no action.
Second?
We have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell, seconded by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion passes 4-0.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, appreciate you coming in.
No, you bet.
Item number 15 is deliberate consider possible approval regarding communication systems and service agreement with Motorola Solutions and budget amendment for the same. This is just it's in a separate packet, but this is just the actual service agreement on what we approved.
Previous court.
We have previously approved or previously agreed to.
I think the only additional question, the only thing that's changed since the last court's an opportunity to buy extended warranty. and whether or not the court chooses to do that, there's $100,000 deduction on that from the original contract, if we go ahead and commit to it up front. And there's, I guess, some misinformation floating out there as to how the fire departments aren't gonna be able to communicate with the sheriff's office. And
We might want to just kind of walk through what's being, what we're agreeing to here, just for public clarification.
you got what you want to talk to there?
No, I was just flipping through it. If you've got a good summary of
Oh, I don't, I mean, because we've talked to it for 2 years.
We've
hashed it,
3 years,
rehashed
but-
it. I mean,
It's 3 years.
and we've got Motorola reps here, but I don't know to what detail to talk to.
Well, I think the simple way of doing this is right now, we are adding 2 additional towers to what is our current setup. So that means if you are the way that fire departments and everything and is currently operating, will still be operating that way going forward with additional coverage.
With significant enhancements.
With significant enhancements, but I mean, significant coverage enhancements, but we're also implementing a 700 megahertz system as well for law enforcement, but also to eventually have where all departments can be on that system. So there'll be concurrent systems in place.
There's no huge expense to any of the law enforcement at this point in time. They don't have to do anything to make, I mean, the law enforcement folks will be provided with dual band radios. Those dual band radios will continue to function on the VHF channels, P25 compatibility. The volunteer fire departments, right now, when they need a police officer, they don't get on the radio and yell, call in all cars or send me county unit 214. They contact the dispatcher. Dispatcher then sends the deputy. The deputy simply either flips a switch, hits a button, and he can immediately communicate with any of the fire guys on their fire channels.
And that will continue, yeah, that's the way it will.
And for those that have invested in digital equipment, that digital equipment will continue to function. It should be transparent to the fire departments, with the exception of when we add the 2 new towers, which should probably, we plan will be one in Walnut Bend and one in Sybil's Bend, then that should simply enhance their coverage. Now, the one thing they're not going to be able to do is scan the law enforcement channel. Well, that hadn't bought us anything in years since we went to computer-aided dispatch, because when dispatch gets a new call, they simply call a unit and say new call. Anything associated with that call is then described to them on a computer so the public doesn't hear it. So some of you have been around long enough to remember Scannerland, when most of us had a scanner and we sat around and enjoyed listening to all that stuff. Well, we lost that probably 2 or 3 years ago when we went to computer-aided dispatch. So I see this having absolutely no negative effect on our volunteer firefighters.
There's a story been put out that we're going to force all the firemen to go to 700 megahertz, and that nothing is more untrue than that.
If they so choose later, the capability will exist, and it will enhance their communications probably even more. But we're not strong-arming anybody, nor are we taking advantage of anybody, nor are we leaving anybody without coverage.
Well, basically, we're not spending taxpayers' money to improve a system that's almost obsolete. It's not obsolete, but it's full. And for the growth of the county, if it's $1 million, $2 million, whatever that cost was, we're spending the money for improvement, looking forward to the growth of this county. And going to the 700 megahertz is going to greatly improve the communication throughout Cooke County. It's kind of like when, our fire departments all started, we were limited with the radio service, and it's been growing from that point to today, and today we're looking at what the future would be to better Cooke County.
That price includes new tower construction, hardware on the towers, radios for the vehicles, portables. It should be a turnkey package when we're done.
And the money that the fire departments have already spent on radios is going to work just fine with this system. And the 700 megahertz radios are not $10,000 radios. I don't know who keeps putting that one out there, but I thoroughly enjoy hearing these stories back. 3 years we've been talking about this, 3 years. And at the beginning, that was one of the requests made, please don't mess with the firemen. And that has been the goal from the beginning. It's going to be better than what we have now. So if you're hearing these things, it's just somebody having fun
Or just misinformed.
or misinformed. Either or. But what you were getting to earlier on the service agreement, if we agree to commit to the service agreement for the life of that, what was it, 4 years, 5 years? 5 years. They'll lower the price.
Goes from 500 to 400.
Yeah.
We do the budget amendment for enough for all of it.
What was your question?
I asked,
You got a mask on. I can't hear you.
yeah, I got a microphone here somewhere. I asked if we done the budget amendment for enough to cover both.
Gotcha. You said
Cover it
budget
all.
amendment. All right.
And she says we have. So
So what do you want to do?
what's the court's pleasure on the warranty, assuming they were satisfied with the rest of it?
I think you include it.
I would include it.
So do we have a motion?
Got a motion?
Want me to wiggle or what?
Do I?
If you wiggle, I'll take that as a motion, but.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hollowell.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Leon Clement. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 4-0. Item number 16 is deliberate and consider possible approval regarding clearing county property located along Rice Avenue. We had talked about this several different times. I think I don't know if Ricky's got any update or not on what's, we just need to have some movement on it.
Ricky, you had some people out there looking. Did they give us any pricing?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you speak to that? Who was that originally?
That was Joe's Tree Service.
Okay.
They gave
You
us,
not hear from another tree service or some guys that was going to give you some numbers to come in and deal with that?
a guy did call me, and he was talking about doing bulldozer service to bulldoze the whole thing from one end of it to the other. And I had not heard that that's what the plan was, so I referred him to you. He said he knew you, and I
But
asked
you
him
haven't
to
heard
call
from
you.
Lumberg
No,
and Farr?
nobody's ever called back or,
Because they talked about they was going to give you a number, but they're going to go in and share some stuff. Initially, I thought Precinct 1 might go out there and do that because I was under the impression there was no utilities there. Ironically, there's a fiber optic line that runs the length of it from 2071 to the fire station, to the ambulance station. So I immediately said, ain't doing that. And then whenever I went on around the curve toward the florist, there's some huge hackberry trees. It looked like the power company has cut the middle out of them. So if you simply go out there with the dozer and push them one way or another, you're going to push them into the highlands. So we're not going to do that. And that's my rationale for us not doing that. Initially, I thought it would save us a bunch of money. But these guys were talking about coming in there, sharing this stuff off, and then if we could put it out there and burn it, if the city would allow us to burn it, then the disposition would be significantly less than running it through a shredder and hauling it somewhere. So,
well, I have not heard anything from that individual since he called me that first time.
okay. So, I
How
don't know
big
where
does
we
it
are.
have to be before we bid it? 50? How many thousand?
Up to 50, yeah.
Up
But
to
I don't,
50?
I don't think it's going to get
I don't think it'd be 50. Of course, it might cost you more than you think, because
but there were some alternatives there for, again, if we could burn it rather than run it through
Yeah,
a
I know.
chipper
Yeah,
and stuff, and I don't know why we couldn't burn it. We'd have to get a blessing from the city. but we ought to be able to burn it, and that would save us some money.
Well, didn't Commissioner Snuggs talk to the city? I thought at one time our discussion was they were gonna allow us to burn it.
I think you're right. I think you're right, but I haven't had a conversation.
Now, that first section to that curve, you could cut the top of that all out and then you could bulldoze that out. Because that fence is intertwined into that so much, that would just be a nightmare to pull that all out.
Of course, I was concerned about even cutting them without a bucket truck or something.
Oh, no, I don't mean us do it. I mean, get someone to.
Initially, I really thought we could save several $1,000s, but in that scenario, you can't.
And that fiber optic line, well, it's at least 2 feet away from the fence row, Gary. What are you afraid of? There's also a sewer line in there.
Yeah, the sewer line at least is obvious, and it's on the other side
Yeah.
of the ambulance station.
If y'all recall, that's why Precinct 3 said we weren't gonna touch that originally when this all was brought up, and that we should hire it to be done.
I was cautiously optimistic when I heard there was no utilities on that
I
side.
knew there was utilities out there.
Fiber optic kind of scared me.
My suggestion would be to go cut everything to the fence top height, spray it, allow that to die, and at a later date, be able to remove the stumps and everything after it's rotted.
I still don't know though, removing the stumps is gonna be the challenge around the fiber optic.
Oh, that, I don't know what you, yeah.
That's gonna be a challenge. So I guess you spray them and let them rot.
That's what I would do. You don't have to deal with the fence then for now.
Is that as entwined in the fence? Is that the first part?
Pretty much all,
All the way through.
unless you want to rebuild fence then.
That's more cost.
What was Joe's tree service to cut them at fence line?
He was gonna start at Caden's driveway, cut it off, take that down all the way to the ground, all the way to that first turn in the road. And then he was gonna take it at the top of the fence over that 45, that short distance there, and stop. And that's all that we asked him to do. Because that, originally the main concern was to get it cleaned up by Caden's driveway. And it's kind of escalated from there.
We've got some trees need to be taken care of to prevent them from falling on the guy wires.
Yeah.
Seems like. So, and that's just to the, west edge of the EMS station, at least some of them.
Yeah, there's a couple of great big pecan trees right there by the MS station that are very large trees.
As long as you hate to lose a tree, as long as it won't hit the guy wires.
Right.
They're kind of close.
Those big pecan trees right there by the station, maybe we could just have those trimmed up.
Yeah,
a little
those
bit and
shouldn't be.
save those. They're not in the fence line,
Yeah, they're not a problem.
just by the driveway there.
I already moved the money for that because I thought y'all approved that earlier.
Well, we never really approved it.
No, we talked about it. And
And
then
when I
go back
moved
to-
all the money for the other ones, I moved
You went ahead and
that
moved the money for
also.
that.
Okay.
The money's there. Do we need to get a quote on,
I would get a quote on cutting it all down. to
Cutting it,
fence- To fence height.
yeah,
2071
all the way around? Yeah.
And it's up to everybody's discretion if you want to try to take that first section out of Cadenhead with a dozer or a track loader or something, if you got it cut down.
In the bid process, though, would we want to allow them to burn it rather than chip it?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about we burn what we have instead of chipping.
He needs to, I'm just
Yeah,
doing this for
that's-
Ricky's
it's
sake,
not haul
so,
off.
yeah.
So they could just pile it in a one big pile?
No, not one big pile, because we were going to be limited in the size of the piles, is
Okay.
what I think Snuggs told us.
Okay.
Now, if you go with the one that did the vacant lot, you have to add in what we paid them.
Yeah, you still can't top the 50,
Yeah.
Can't go over 50.
Okay.
but it shouldn't be,
I don't think it'd be.
Top them, I
the
wouldn't.
top of them, I think that if I pulled up this last quote, you're talking roughly 5 to 6 grand, I
Well,
think.
there's more trees.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're just talking that section, so you're still, even if you triple that, you're still fine. You know, going.
We can get a quote from them and see what it is. And
We just want to be sure we put the quote out there as to what we want, and so we don't get differing
Yeah,
quotes.
yeah, apples to
Cut
apples.
cut them down and pile them, but just at fence height, and that first section, we'll look at that. We still might push that first section out instead of letting him take it all the way to the ground.
What do you call?
That first
partially,
section from Cadence down, we could still,
You can get to that hackberry in the curve, and I mean.
Yeah, I mean, go that
In all
far.
honesty, if somebody would drop that on either side, someone's gonna drop out in the road, gonna have to.
yeah.
Then you could doze all the way around to the EMS, I think, because you can see where the sewer is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obvious. So
Well, that's
those
fine.
trees were, we could, if they were cut back, we could probably then go under the dozer, clean that all the way around. If we
City
wanted to.
representative told me that sewer line is 8 feet deep right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a problem.
So, I mean, but that's not gonna affect letting them cut it off at fence,
No.
at fence height.
Now, well, yeah, as long as they don't think they're gonna cut it down to the ground.
Oh, no, don't do that, because you have nothing to leverage off of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Top of the fence.
So what we want to do is go from Cadence all the way to the highway, cut it off at the top of the fence and put it in several different piles.
Right. We're gonna have to figure out how many piles we're gonna have to put that in
Yeah.
And
before they start.
You know, only, but
Yeah,
it'll be hard to do that without being there saying, you know,
I know.
I mean, as long as they don't get them more than what, 10 foot tall? That brush is gonna condense in reality. They push that brush up there and take a loader and mash it down. They should be able to condense it pretty well. 'Cause,
well, it'd be easier for them because they don't have to transport it as far.
Exactly.
well, they don't have to shred it. They just need a
Yeah.
big enough piece of equipment to move it, and they may not have that.
More piles there are, the less work for them.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't have to move it around so much. But we gotta be careful around the guy wires and, whatever you wanna do with those pecan trees.
When they
Trim 'em
do
up.
it, if they don't compact it enough to burn, we're gonna have to come up with a piece of equipment and do it. So.
So I'll get a quote to take it off at the top of the fence, all the way around, and then pile it. I don't know how to stipulate how many piles. Certain size pile, is that?
Tell them
what
at
the
least
city
3
is
on
saying?
each side, and if we need to go move them, we'll go move them.
You stipulate how far away you stay from the guy wires as well.
So just tell them, keep it far enough that flames wouldn't get there.
Okay. All right.
In other words, that's gonna be something, you're gonna have to go out there and show them what you want done and not just trust.
We'll put a flag out there. I want a pile here and a pile here and a
You might
pile
have
There
here.
you go.
6 miles over that distance ought to
Yeah, it
work.
should be
That ought to
fine.
work.
Shouldn't get anything huge.
All right, you got marching orders?
Yes.
Item 16 will be no action. Item 17 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding Cooke Courthouse Annex remodel. I don't have anything new on this. We talked about needing a workshop. I suggest doing that at some point in January.
Yeah. No action.
No action on 17.
Motion would be if we need it.
We don't need it. 18 is deliberate and consider possible action on building roof repairs. Ricky, you sat down too soon. This is for the annex, the courthouse, and old EMS, I believe. This is some of that insurance money. And I don't see it. I sent this individually, but I don't see it in the past. Didn't make the packet. But this is the 4T partnership recommendation on roof repair. They sat down with myself and Ricky and Shelley the other day. You want to give a brief over that a little bit?
So 4T Partners is a consulting company that TAC has contracted with to write the specs and vet contractors and supervise their projects that they're paying on. We have 3 roofs that had hail damage that they're covering: the courthouse, the annex building, and the old EMS that has the shingle roof, the pitch roof, the shingle roof on it. And he sent the sort of a set of, I say sort of, because I have some questions about the one at the courthouse for sure, of specs and instructions to the contractors. And then, of course, the courthouse, since it's a historic building, I contacted the THC, and they do require an antiquities permit, they call it. So I sent that in to them, and James Malanafi, who's our representative, wants to talk with Scott, who's the 4T representative. He has some questions about it, and I do too. When I read through this, I had not read it until today, actually. When I read through it, I have 3 questions. One, it says on, I don't know if y'all have this document, but I'll just tell you what it says. It says removal of existing coping on this courthouse. Well, the coping, you have a flat roof, then you have a wall on the outside. The coping is that cap that's on top of that. Well, that's a 100-year-old historic stone, and this document says to remove that. Well, the THC is not going to allow that, and neither should we. The second question.
Didn't we already have trouble with the coping up there with those stones
Yes.
leaking and the water in them?
Yes, and we've had all that repaired.
Just fixed it a few years back.
So that's, I don't know if that's what he really intends. The roof really doesn't even go all the way up to the top of the wall.
be any reason.
Doesn't go that high. So that's a problem. The next one is, it appears, we'll have to ask him this, that he's intending to overlay the new roofing over the existing roof. Leave the existing roof on there and just put the new roof over the top of it. And I'm not so sure that's a good idea myself either. The other thing is, he's recommending a Duralast roof product instead of the modified roof that we have on it. Modified roof is more like a roll roofing with a gravel type thing. Not a gravel roof, but a roll roofing type. Duralast is the same thing we have on the DPS building. It looks like TPO, but it's a different product. It's a PVC product. He highly recommends it. He thinks it's the way to go.
Looks almost like a swimming pool liner.
Looked like swimming pool liner.
And a TPO is what we have on the,
TPO is what's
yeah.
over.
And so that would be, he's recommending the same thing for the courthouse and the annex. I
Yes.
think on the annex, that's an upgrade, that's the way to go, but
It
the
is.
courthouse, that's substantially different than what we have now.
It's totally different. One of the big concerns I have with it is it gets slick. And we're on top of this courthouse all the time. And that roofing material, when it gets just a little bit of dust on it, you get a little moisture on it, it's slick. You got to be real careful. That's one issue that I have with it. And the other, it's just a question of how good idea is it to put a roofing over the top of the roofing that's already there. And I don't know, I have a problem with that. All of those are things we just need to hash out with them, I guess.
Any of those processes going to be a hot tar or asphalt type?
The existing roof that we have it's called a modified system, and it's like roll roofing, only it's real thick and heavy. And they do heat it and melt it together when they put it down.
But these roofs that we have that look like swimming pool liners, that wouldn't be a good thing, I wouldn't think, to heat that. Okay.
Well, now the TPO, they do heat it and melt it together, but it's not the same as a tar type. They just use electric heating iron type thing to melt it together.
Not hot asphalt, not hot oil.
No asphalt. Even the modified roof, they don't use asphalt. It's not like this.
It's not asphalt, but it's a petroleum product they heat, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and it has to get hot, and so.
It has to get hot to melt
You put it
together.
on one of these, to me, looks like a vinyl roof, it'd probably melt things considerably.
Yeah, it wouldn't work,
Wouldn't work, so.
I don't think.
Have we had any trouble with the DPS building roof? We did it first because they
Did it first, but no, it's fine.
had to add some foam under it or something, yeah,
Yeah, it was ponding water.
ponding water.
Yes. The other thing in his document here is there is no stipulation at all, it doesn't even address roof drains. It addresses scuppers, but not roof drains. A scupper is a gap in the exterior wall so the water can get out. There is no scupper on the courthouse. It depends 100% on roof drains to get the water off the roof, and he doesn't address roof drains at all in this document. So there are just some things that are going to have to get worked out.
Just bring this back.
Yeah, but I wanted to, I mean, we just met with him right before Christmas, and he
Right.
sent this right before
It was
Christmas.
the first meeting, and
But I wanted to make sure it was in front of the court as we kind of progress down here on what we're, and as Ricky pointed out, this is an individual that's hired by TAC to be our intermediary. He went through kind of the detailed process of site oversight, which I really think's a good thing. It's just making sure we are in agreement on what it's supposed to look like on the front end before we get into that phase of it. So we don't have to take any action on it today, but just kind of getting it in front of everybody. So unless anybody has anything else, number 18 will be no action. Number 19 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding the vacant lots located on West Main Street. Have any updates on?
Trees are gone, the stumps are gone.
Good job on getting it cleared off.
We got the stumps out. Anybody need some stumps?
No.
can't give those away.
Can't give those away. What do we do next?
I think it might be good to come up with some kind of design plan on what we're wanting to do as far as parking, and then what that may or may not trigger as far as how much that costs.
Yeah.
Is that gonna take an engineering firm or somebody to draw
If it gets, if it hits the dollar amount we're probably thinking it will, it needs
Yeah.
to. And then that means that dollar amount goes even higher.
You know,
There's your handicap access and stuff like that.
Yeah. There's
entrances and exits, and it's pretty much elevated from the surrounding area. You're gonna have to take a bunch of dirt out. What are you gonna have to do? And how many parking places can you put in there?
I kind of have a tendency to say we set on that till after we have your seat filled, because we've got enough projects going on right now that you're
You're not gonna hear any objection from me, but I don't think it needs to set too long.
No, I don't think you're gonna get anything done before the first of the year.
No.
So it's not
But,
gonna hurt anything to,
I
Take
think
no
you're gonna
action.
have to go out,
You're gonna have to bring in an engineer.
bring in an engineer.
Item number 20 is deliberate and consider possible action regarding scrap tire program through TCOG. I know Commissioner Hollowell sat in on some of that.
Can we go back to the parking lot a little bit?
Yes.
And we're gonna have to coordinate that with the city in
Yeah,
some
you're gonna
form
have
or
to.
fashion, are
yeah.
we not?
Yeah, they'll have to permit that beforehand.
All right. Just making sure. Anyway, scrap tire program.
Scrap tires,
Should somebody call the city and find out what,
what they want, what
yeah.
they require.
either that or let your contractor get the, but,
He's gonna have to talk to him, he or she will have to talk to him anyway.
Yeah,
because they'll actually be the ones to get the permit, won't they?
yeah, yeah.
okay,
I would guess.
okay.
You want to talk to scrap tires, Leon, or you want me to talk to it? We both sit in on that.
You know, they had a Zoom through the COG, they've got extra money for scrap tires, and they're trying to put something together. Originally, the young lady told me they didn't realize they had that many tires around. Precinct 4, we don't pick up hundreds of tires a year. I'm sure there's hundreds of them out there somewhere. We pick up 20 or 30 a year. Fannin County, they have people bring them by their precinct barn. They actually have trash days, but what they want to do is bring a van in, an 18-wheeler van, and if we can fill one up, which I'm sure we can, and it's not, what do I say? The way I understand it, it's not for precinct 4 to get rid of its tires, and by that I mean the precinct barn. It's for the public that has tires scattered around the countryside. I forget, car tires and truck tires, no four-wheeler tires. I thought that was odd. No large tractor tires. What else? No earth-moving tires. How many tires did they say they could get in a truck?
I think what they plan to do is to allow each county to accumulate 1,000 tires. And they say they can put 1,000 in one.
It was 1,000.
18-wheeler trailer.
If you load it properly.
Yeah, and the goal is to keep them from throwing them in the bar ditches, because if you drive the county roads, you'll see there's a ton of tires around. And what they've done is set up a collection day and allowed each vehicle to bring in up to 4 passenger-type car tires. Is, like I said, no ATV tires, no big truck. You can actually bring a semi-tire.
bring a
but you can't
semi-tire.
bring a heavy equipment tire in. So I think what this group needs to do collectively is decide, does each precinct want to accumulate 250 tires over a period of time, and us all say, and bring them in and put them in the semi-trailer, say at the Justice Center where we've had the collection before.
I know in years past, when they had their collection every spring, they would limit it to 2 to 4 tires per person, and it was just car tires. And I've had people over the years tell me that they'd bring a couple of tires in, and it was so limited, not very many people would bring tires. And I've talked to several people that have went back home and they said, sure, go get some more if you have them. We don't have enough tires. You go home and get another 10 or 15 and bring them back in. So the goal here is to try to get people to bring them in, however we decide where we want to bring them. If you're going to do it over a period of a month or two, or try to do it over a week.
You could either do that or let them bring the truck and we can set a day and say, hey, truck's out here, you know. Each individual can bring in 4 tires.
Or 8 or however many.
Or however many, but I think you need
When we
to
get to 1,000, we got to cut. Just
Yeah,
like we
that's
got
why I think you have
precinct
some
level, when we get to
limit, but-
250, we got to cut it off.
yeah.
I think you have a personal limit for each individual,
Each
but
precinct.
not so low it doesn't make sense to do it, but not so high that you have 4 people bring in all your tires.
And if,
Each precinct collecting 250 and bringing them, got to handle them twice that way.
got to handle them twice that way.
Or set a truck out there and say it's out there this weekend, but then if we don't fill it, they're only going to leave us the truck for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Obviously, they can't let it sit, and we want to be sure that we could utilize it and fill it. So it'd be probably, I'm thinking best, I don't want to accumulate them out here before the truck gets there, we'll get a whole lot more than 1,000 tires.
Yeah.
So I kind of lean toward doing it by the precinct, and I put out something in the newspaper that says on such and such day, you can bring them to precinct 1.
Yeah.
And then when
You can
we got
manage that
250,
better,
you know, we may have to do it more than once to get our 250.
And that is what those other counties were doing over there. They would have old tire day or whatever you want to call it, and people would bring their tires to them, and then they would put them in the truck. And if we can fill a truck and there is a great enough need for this, they could see doing this for several years and try to get a lot of these old tires cleaned up.
Well, couldn't they do that on the trash day that we do once a year? Set the truck up
They don't
there?
always fund it.
They're not, I think
They don't always fund
This is
that
a
thing.
separate deal from that. The
Separate
COG
bucket
is-
of money.
Yeah, the COG is trying to, they did a survey to see what we thought about tires. So then we had this Zoom meeting, and it's, if we can generate enough need, I think one commissioner said he could fill the truck up himself.
But if we would begin to accumulate and say, okay, bring us the truck in April or something of that
Yes.
nature, then we could collect, you know, my goal would be to allow people to bring it up to 250 tires. When that hits, we're done. And then we'll set on them until, you know, and if we get them before then, we can bring the truck in before then.
So rephrase that. We're not going to allow a person to bring up to 250 tires.
Yeah, but yeah.
So, right now, you know, precinct 3 could fill the truck up because there's a mountain of tires that's accumulated.
really?
We've been trying to get rid of, and a lot of them are the precinct's tires. So you're gonna, this is for the public to come in,
Yes.
so are we gonna get receipts, or what are we gonna do to, you know, control that?
I mean, you're gonna be somewhat familiar with the people in your precinct. If they bring in a load and they show back up with 2 or 3 more loads.
It's not really gonna matter to me after.
Well, but yeah, I'm gonna have some idea if I got a repeat
Yes.
customer. And in all honesty, if I lacked a few tires making 250, I'd throw precinct tires in there. We wouldn't send that truck out here unless.
not prioritized.
But this isn't for the precinct's
Right.
tires. I
It's
don't want.
not for that at all.
I don't want the public to think that
That's right.
we're trying to get rid of our tires. This is for the public to get rid of They're old tires, and it is specific.
And we don't want the media to communicate we're taking them today. We
No.
we will get back with you and say on X day or X weekend or whatever, the precinct facility will be open to accept X number of tires. And just in case we had a rush, I'd say, hey, and when we get to 250, that's when the day ends.
I think it's worth it's definitely worth trying 1 year and see what we can do. It may be something we can build on.
But I have a tendency to say each precinct should agree, set their own dates, put out their own media day or whatever.
Yeah, but we're gonna have to have a time that we're gonna have to have it done by.
Yeah, I mean, and let's try to shoot for April or May.
I don't know, well,
Yeah.
yeah.
I want to clarify something.
Okay.
When it said precinct 3 has a mountain of tires, it is tires that I had inherited from
Inherited tires.
4 years ago and previous years before that. So we have been trying to get rid of these tires at the cost of precinct 3, because you have to pay for every tire, so. But
All right, so that'll be
That'll be
continual,
a future item we need to,
Yep.
we're gonna have to get on that pretty quick. If we're
yeah,
gonna get
if
it
we
done.
want to get it done by spring.
But like I said.
I think that's the best plan.
You know, I wouldn't have a problem if you start communicating to, you know, if you got some date picked up,
Yep.
start soliciting.
So who's gonna stack the truck?
We'll have to see if, they're supposed to give us some instruction on how to stack.
There's
the
a special
truck.
way you do it, yeah.
And then they suggested, and we maybe can use inmates.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
I think that's what they've done. And if we will, I'm assuming I'm gonna put them in a loader, put them in a dump truck and take them to the Justice Center parking, not the parking lot, but that
Yeah.
area out there.
Stack 'em all
And then
up there.
let somebody, I mean, we can raise them up in a loader and let them
Yeah,
stack them.
let them stack.
Is there paperwork that we have to sign?
I haven't heard of it
We haven't
yet.
got to that point yet. They didn't say there was anything. They just
She
want
just
us
said,
to,
call us when you get ready, we'll send you a truck,
yeah.
so.
There's always paperwork.
Well, I'm sure
I'm
there's.
sure there's an interlocal or some kind of little.
Like Finn
MOU.
found out, there was always
Nothing is ever
paperwork.
free.
Leave it to have an auditor.
I'm sure there's gonna be
So
some
now we have to
paperwork.
do paperwork.
Our job was to see if we thought we could generate enough interest amongst this group to try
I
to
don't
pull
think
that
we have
off.
an issue. I think
No,
we need
I
to
think it'll
start
work.
collecting when we get ready.
All right, item 21 is deliberate and consider possible action on the various grant funds. 2015 flood,
They requested more additional information,
surprise.
so I got that sent off Wednesday before I left for Christmas, and I copied both commissioners on their emails. And it's on the previous project worksheets that were sent in a couple of years ago.
Anything else on FEMA 2015?
No,
No.
About FEMA 2020?
that was submitted,
Your CARES Act stuff was submitted.
oh, sorry, wrong one.
So we don't really have anything on FEMA 2020, although since CARES funding is now lapsed, I guess unless it's in the omnibus bill, they just signed into law that extended for some reason.
If it's not, we're ready to drop that off the agenda.
If it's
Yes,
not,
I
we're
have,
ready.
I have nothing on FEMA COVID.
Yeah.
CARES Act has been submitted.
So we're hopefully that won't take 5 years to get money back on that.
It took 5 years to submit it, so.
Well, that
that's
may
what I'm
be.
telling you.
Appreciate all your hard work on that, Shelley. I know that was not easy.
Thank you, Judge, I appreciate that.
Item D is public safety COVID grants, I think.
I'm just waiting for the last reimbursement for what I submitted. We're still $5,700, there's still $5,700 left out of that grant.
And that original grant was well over 100,000.
102,000?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
I knew it was over 100,000. Item E is Ctf Road Grants.
I have not submitted anything for that yet.
Been prioritizing getting the other stuff done right before Christmas. And then election grants, I don't think we have anything.
The HAVA portion of the election grants is due by the end of this month. And that's where I'm gonna submit the
Some of the workers.
part-time, at least for the early voting, for cleaning. And I think I still need, if I can find some PPE, cleaning supplies and things to submit, to try and use up the rest of the money. The poll books, didn't use up all of it, so. We used up, I did meet our match, I just need to find enough for the other side.
All right, item 22 is executive session in compliance with Texas Open Meetings Act 551 of the Government Code. We have personnel, consult with attorney, maybe calling in, and deliberation regarding security devices and audits. It is
Somebody's got some signature stuff we want to take care of it before so they can get out of here.
11:16.
Do we need to sign some stuff on Good Life?
We'll get it to them. But we might want to, we have those maps. Yes.
And do we want to sign?
Can we take a break?
We got a couple of guys waiting on this contract.
Take a break.
Yeah, we can get that, but that's down in the office right now. All right, it is 12:38. We are back in regular session. Item number 23 is deliberate and consider possible action on public health emergency declaration for COVID-19. Ray, you want to give just a very, very short update on where we're at?
Very short.
Very, very, two varies.
Okay, very, very shortly. We do have testing this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday again. We do not have testing next week. And then it will be available again the following 3 weeks in January. So we'll be missing 1 week there. Last week, we tested 564, looks like about 564 people. They have been getting notified. We still don't have those results yet. As soon as we get them, we'll start calling those folks that had positive tests. We did have 4 fatalities over the holiday 4 or 5 day period. Those will be reported on in more detail later. On the 24th, I believe it was, 27th, excuse me, was at 22%. So we've gone from worrying about 15.2%, we're all the way to 22% capacity now. So that's pretty significant. As a whole here in Cooke County, we are holding our own. We did get 100 doses of the Moderna vaccine last week, and those are being administered right now to the first tier people, medical workers and frontline medical staff. And we are anxiously awaiting more vaccine, but we have no insight as to any more when it will be here. I'm sure it will, but we don't have that right now. That would be a very, very quick one.
How quick do they have to get their second shot?
That's 28 days for the Moderna. Plus or minus, I mean, you do have a couple days one way or the other, but 28 days is the preferred.
How long do they think it gives you immunity?
And this is, again,
Yeah.
just public data I've seen is that it was 6 months for younger people and 6 months for older people, I think it was, and a year for younger people possibly. But they didn't say what younger was and what older was, but.
And where's the split?
Very similar to the flu shot.
Yeah.
It's about 6 months really, when you look it up. So it's,
Logistically, how are they gonna ensure they've got the second vaccine for the person that took it the first time? Do you know, I mean?
No.
Because it doesn't have a shelf life like that, does it?
yes, the Moderna's got 6 months.
So if they sent you 100 doses, you would want to distribute 50 in theory and save 50 for the second round for the same people?
That would be a plan, but that isn't what we're doing.
But if you don't, then all of a sudden you got a bunch of people out there with one vaccine.
Anticipating that there will be a significant amount in the near future. There are places in the area that have gotten more than they're going to use, and we're trying to get some of that. So I anticipate that won't be an issue, but it's certainly something that we're thinking about.
Of course, if you go to a third party, you're probably less apt to insure your second round. Because if that initial distribution went to that third party.
Well, right now, the distribution they didn't come to Cooke County. They came to providers in Cooke County who signed up to do the vaccine.
You get my scenario. I mean,
Very few guarantees right now.
Any other questions for Ray? No action on item number 23. Item 24 is deliberate, consider possible action regarding security devices or audits. I don't believe we had anything on that. Item 25 is deliberate, consider possible action regarding resignation of county judge. Just a brief how we got to now. For those who have not heard, I have announced my candidacy for Texas State House of Representatives District 68, which has been vacated because of the special election to elect Drew Springer to Senate District 30. Because of certain provisions in the Constitution, I have to resign to run. However, I'm a holdover county judge until Commissioners Court makes a determination on that replacement. And we will be holding a special court on the 4th to have further conversations about that. So item 26, future agenda items. You want to
Give my little farewell.
give your farewell?
Now? Yep. I want to take a few moments. Didn't want to do this at the beginning of court because I thought maybe it would, I don't know, maybe I'd get emotional. I don't know. In a way, I'm really looking forward to getting out that door. I've enjoyed being the commissioner for 4 years. I feel like I did a good job, regardless of what some public statements would be in the newspaper or Facebook. Facebook, I don't like Facebook. I can go into like, this is how Precinct 3 fixes roads, stuff like that with pictures. The thing is, I was able to sleep every night because I knew I did a good job. There's only so much a person can get done. I want to thank the court for working with me this last 4 years. I've enjoyed this. It's been an honor to be able to sit up here with y'all. I really want to, excuse me, this is what I want to do at the end. I want to thank my wife. She put up with me for 4 years, and then plus the campaign from the first year. We didn't get to go see things or travel as much as far as personal time. Anything that we ever did was for county business. I think she's looking forward to me being home and not have to answer the telephone 24 hours a day, because I was on call 24 hours a day. I did what I told the public I was going to do. I was going to try to fix the roads, not go out and build new ones. Everything that was out there, I inherited. And I inherited a FEMA disaster. No one wants to talk about the FEMA disaster, but that was the first thing I had to go after and fix. So if something got neglected, other roads, is because I had a timeline for money to collect. And I did the best I could to get what we could done.
again, I could go on and on. My wife told me to keep it on a positive note. So I am going to leave this on a positive note. Thank you. Thank you, Susie. Thank the supporters of Precinct 3 that did show up and support me. And I appreciate everything the court has done. That's all I have to say.
Appreciate all your hard work, John. Enjoyed it. We've really enjoyed it. And we look forward to seeing you around and giving us a hard time in the future.
Well, I'll tell you what y'all can do, since I do have a new job, and I have caught flack for that, but people don't understand when you lose an election, you don't sit around to January 1st to start another career. When this position stops, that's the end of all income. And I'm not one that has other businesses or ties or other incomes coming in. So I did start a new job. I am working for Denton County. And in the future, if y'all need any consulting with my road and bridge inspection that I am doing, I can come back and tell y'all how we are really screwing things up. So,
How we're screwing things up, or how you're screwing?
subdivisions and everything, because Cooke County has a lot of growing to do. I have seen personally the growth that has taken place in Denton County, and
It's coming.
it's coming. You know, a lot of people, you know, when the wind farm come in, it was gonna stop growth. Careful what you wish for, because with what's coming from the south, there is no way you can keep up. So, anyway.
Now I'm depressed, John.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Future agenda items, tomorrow's canvassing of the votes. We need at least 2 of you guys, or even myself, 2 commissioners, court members have to canvass at 10 a.m. And then, like I said, there'll be a special court on Monday to talk about the county judge position. Other than that, anybody else has any other items?
Future stuff,
All the
press building, the lot, the annex. Let's don't forget don't forget Rice Avenue. Because if you don't bug Ricky, he won't get it. He won't have a,
Yep.
we'll be talking about it 4 months from now.
Yep.
You ought to add to, we were maintaining the vegetation around the guy wires. Make sure y'all discuss that. We've been trying to keep that all kept back so we didn't get growed up.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a lot of people don't realize that tower fell down not that many years ago.
No.
Very true. 27 is to adjourn.
I make that motion, we adjourn.
We have a motion by Commissioner John Clement. We have a second by Commissioner Leon Clement. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes 4.